करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
We continue with the poem Laodamia. So, a brief summary of what has happened so far. Protesilaus, the Thessalian prince, he is dead in the war against Trojans. His wife, the queen, was Laodamia. According to the prophecy, the first hero who sets the foot on Trojan soil would be dead. Knowing this fully well, also Protesilaus jumped and he fought and he was killed by Hector. Laodamia comes to know about this and she is very upset. She is very, very sorrowful. She prays to gods to restore the life of Protesilaus. To the extent that she has sincerity in her prayers, the gods do oblige, but give the company of her husband only for a period of 3 hours. So, Mercury or Hermes, that god accompanies Protesilaus to the palace where Laodamia is there. And then she is very, very happy to have him back. But he has not come in his erstwhile full form. Only an apparition or a spirit of Protesilaus has come with the same figure, of course, but it is not with a mortal body. And the Mercury leaves them alone and she begins to greet him, she begins to speak to him. And where we concluded last week was that she becomes now sensuous there. And she tells Protesilaus that to give her a nuptial kiss in the bed where they have experienced pleasures before. Jove in the heaven, who is the supreme god there, he frowned, and Parse, the goddess of colors, she threw upon the lips of Protesilaus a Stygian hue, which is a very sort of ugly black sort of a mark, because for her fidelity the time of Protesilaus was given and this was not the purpose for which it was given, so they frowned there and they are in fact protecting both Laodamia and Protesilaus there. But it's not possible also, because earlier also she tried to embrace him. Only the hands go through, the apparition cuts and then reunites back. This was her experience. But why this aspect of Laodamia is given is, which we are going to see further. There's no doubt she has love towards Protesilaus, but it is more to do with what is known as attachment, and the love is more superficial in nature. And that is what he is going to educate her, that this is not real love. We'll continue. This visage tells thee that my doom is past, nor should the change be mourned, even if joys of senses were able to return as fast and surely as they vanish. Earth destroys those raptures duly. Erebus disdains. Calm pleasures there abide. Majestic pains. So Protesilaus is now addressing Laodamia. He says, this face tells that all that we were supposed to do between us in terms of how we would enjoy, all that is past now. Because that person is actually dead. She has got a special permission, as it were, to be with him for 3 hours, and he has come as an apparition, that's all. So he says, this must prove to you that all that is past now. But very interestingly he says, nor should the change be mourned. Change is the way of life, it is the law of nature. Even if the joys of senses were able to return as fast and surely as they vanish. We have seen in this poem, very many thoughts are direct parallel that is given in Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 2, I think verse 14 says, Agama payino anityaha tam stitikshasva bharata. Agama payino anityaha. What we studied in the earlier poem also, even this shall pass away. Agama means they come. Apayinaha, anityaha, they are not permanent. So this is the nature of false pleasures that we seek in this world. Contact bond pleasures are called as rajasic joys or false pleasures. They are very, very nectarine in the beginning, but they are like poison in the end. They converge to a point of zero, and then further also you are forced maybe to contact them, but you derive no pleasure out of it. Rather, they will sit upon you as a burden in the personality. So this is indicated like symbolically as the golden deer in Ramayana. The golden deer that Sita wanted is very attractive. It is golden, it is very attractive, but it's like a deer that will come and go like that. For a moment, the focus shifted to the deer, and that made Sita a captive of Ravana. A 10-headed Ravana is the 10 senses in us. So you become a victim of your own senses and you are sort of imprisoned there. That is the symbolic meaning there. And all that is because of this focus on this golden deer, which is representative of the sense enjoyments here. So here exactly the same thing that he is saying. Even if the joys of senses were able to return as fast and surely as they will vanish, before you even realize the joys of this world born out of contacts, these are all called as contact born pleasures. They are described as wombs of sorrow. Bhagavad Gita talks about them as wombs of sorrow. It is all sugary outside, but inside it is all waiting, the sorrow is waiting there. And earth destroys those raptures duly. This is the law of nature. It will be destroyed. The pleasures that we encounter in the world, that we experience in the world, are short-lived. Pain is also short-lived. This law of ever-changing nature of the pairs of opposites, we have to accept. Therefore, he says, nor should the change be mourned. What happens is, when the pleasure comes also, we try to hold on to it so fast that we are so excited about it that we are not able to enjoy it fully. And when the time comes where it goes, we are in deep pain only. So therefore, there has to be a relationship properly maintained with these contacts also. Earth destroys those raptures duly. Erebus disdains. Calm pleasures there abide majestic pains. There in the last line refers to heaven, vis-a-vis a higher pleasure. In this context, you can take it as a sattvic pleasure, true pleasures. The true pleasure is very calm in nature. There is no excitement of the senses there. So we have time and again said that calm pleasure comes out of the clarity of your own intellect. Once the intellect is there, it is able to keep the emotions and mind under control and pursue whatever is the right thing in life. That right thing in life may be very painful, but just only in the beginning. Later it proves to be much more useful to you, but not only that, it is much more enjoyable also. So the mind acts on the basis of pleasure and pain. Intellect acts on the basis of right and wrong. That which is right for you is ultimately pleasurable for you. This is the law. But you may not be able to see it immediately. I repeat, that which is really right for you has to be pleasurable for you. But you may not see that pleasure in the beginning. Eventually that is only pleasurable. Like you see when you start doing yoga or exercise also, or early morning studies also, or eating the right type of food also. It is very enjoyable in the long run, and you have to experience it to know it. But while starting, there may be a little bit of pain about it, because the transition happens from your erstwhile way of living to this. That's all it is. So he is talking about heaven, means he is talking about a relatively real enjoyment here. That real enjoyment is very calm. It is calm pleasures there. Majestic pains. Majestic pains, I really do not know how to explain. Even if a pain is there, it is not the pain that is born out of a loss of, because of attachment. When you lose something, how much of pangs and sorrow and a depression that you go through, it is not that type of a pain. It is a majestic pain. This pain itself is of a different quality altogether. Now, how do we explain it, or where could be an example? Okay, we can take that example of, suppose you say, you meet in a satsang. There is a 10-day retreat on Bhagavad Gita or something like that, where like-minded people gather together, and there is a great master who is covering the entire Gita, let's say, two times a day lecture or 3 times a day lecture, and in between there are bhajans, in between there are other group discussion or whatever it is, and according to the time there is a beautiful timetable that is set. You have time for morning walk, and the friends that you meet there, at least at that point of time for those 10 days, are very energetic and oriented towards higher aspects of life. Extremely well spent 10 days. After the 10th day is over and 11th day when you depart, what happens? There will be pain. And if you don't feel that sort of a pain when you, let us say, move away from a satsang, then probably you have not used the satsang properly. It is a pain, and you have, again, it is a part of your growth, you have to go. But here that the pain that you feel is of a different kind altogether. Right? It is exactly like that. Calm pleasures there abide, majestic pains in the sense, there the frequency of your thought flow and there whatever you are connecting with is of a different kind. So in Bhajagovindam it says, Satsangatve Nisangatvam. When you are in company with people who meet over club, alcohol and this and that, and normal family attachments are there, there will be definitely pain when there is separation, when there is whatever is happening. It's normal pain. It's like a glue. When you remove that glue from the skin, there will be pain. That sort of a thing. But Bhajagovindam says, Satsangatve Nisangatvam. The company that you get out of satsang, you do not stick with them like how you would stick with family. Because if that was the case, then that will not lead you to detachment. But very clearly Bhajagovindam says, Satsangatve Nisangatvam. The focus there is something else, and you do get attached to higher things only in life. And yet, you do feel this. So that is why it is called as a majestic pains, and this is what he explains. There it will be. In heaven it is like that. Therefore the pleasures that you enjoy there, and if at all there is pains that you undergo there, is of a different caliber. It is of a very real nature compared to the earthly joys and sorrows. So he is talking about a state of mind which is very high in nature. That is what is being described here. Be taught, O faithful consort, to control rebellious passion. For the gods approve the depth and not tumult of the soul. A fervent, not ungovernable love. Thy transports moderate, and meekly mourn when I depart. For brief is my sojourn. A fabulous stanza. This is completely marked, this stanza, absolutely verbatim taken from Bhagavad Gita. Underlined rebellious passion. Be taught, O faithful consort, to control rebellious passion. I think chapter 5 verse 23, Bhagavad Gita, it says, Shaknoti haivayasodum raksharira vimokshana kama krododbhavam vegam sayuktaha sasukhi naraha. Before the life leaves this body, if a person is able to have control over the force that is created out of desire and anger, he is a yogi, he is a yukta, he is a happy man. We are talking about a state, ultimate state, where you are going to transcend desire, where you are going to transcend anger. That is the state of self-realization. We are transcended thoughts, everything there. But as an intermediary step, first of all, we have to be aware of all the emotions and negativities that we have. We do have desires, we do have anger, we do have greed, we do have all other things accumulated and collected over millions of janmas. Maybe it is all still there and the force is there. And what happens is that when we saw in the ladder of fall, each of them gather momentum and they have this, what is known as, in the Gita it is termed as Vega. Vega means there's a force, there's a momentum, there's an acceleration that it comes to. That is what he mentions here as rebellious passion. So therefore, if you are able to even have awareness and control that force of it, yes, I do have anger, but I am able to somewhat able to have control over my anger. I am able to have control over my jealousy or greed. I have not yet overcome it. They do come from time to time. But my intellect must be at least developed to such an extent that I am aware of it and I am able to not get into such a momentum in my personality that I may go into delusion. That sort of a thing. So first, you need to hold a control over your personality. So he pleads with Laodamia that, O faithful consort, be taught what? To control the rebellious passion. And why? For gods approve the depth and not tumult of the soul. What is appreciated by gods? That means what is real love? That's what it means. And God is the personification of love only. And what is that they appreciate? What is the real nature of it is? They approve the depth and not tumult of the soul. What you have as emotions at the level is of the senses, and the mind is at the surface level. It is like the waves in the ocean. Deep within the ocean there are no waves. And that is where the real depth of the passion is. Oliver Goldsmith also says, love is still an emptier sound, the modern fair one's jest. On earth unseen are only found to warm the turtle's nest. It is not found anywhere in the world, he says. It's only, if at all, you will find only to warm the turtle's nest only you will find that, he says. Love is emptier sound. The modern fair one's just, I love you, you love, and then there is a honeymoon period, courtship period, then there is divorce. I mean, where is really the depth of love? I am not saying that those who don't divorce are having extreme love or something, but one has to understand and feel it, and for which, at least in the class like this, we can understand where is the source of it and where is the destination of it. It is not in your senses or mind, it is from deep within you. See, when a boy loves a girl and he says the whole figure of her is attractive, just analyze as to what in that figure is attractive. It could be the hair, it could be the smile, it could be the face, it could be the blood that is gushing or the cheek turning red when she smiles, all this. And that is really attractive for him. Independently, all of them are actually not attractive for him. Meaning, hair alone, if you give it to him, he will run away. Not only not attractive, it is repulsive actually. Nails alone you give, he will not appreciate that. Teeth alone you give. But all put together in a shape and a form, it gives a notion that this is what is the attraction. That same girl with same beauty and other thing, if she is lying dead, you will not be able to express that desire and love for her. So that means, all this while, your love was getting deeper into her somewhere. Unconsciously, you were wanting that only. But it got arrested surfacially at the level of the senses and the emotions. That's about all maximum. So this is what he means by the tumult of the soul. And imagine from where it comes from within you also. See, if you are dead and your wife is crying upon you, your son is touching you, you are not able to feel that touch. The same wife who touched and earlier you felt that pleasure, the same son whose sound you were enjoying when he was calling you father, you are not able to enjoy now. Somebody is putting rice in your mouth now, in that dead body, that's a ritual they put, you are not able to feel the taste now. So that means all along, that where it had come from and that source of enjoyment and pleasure within you was also somebody else who was there, who is not there now. So deep within the Atma or that which is the source of your love, and that is where it gets deposited. That is why in Taittiriya Upanishad, when he is talking about finally the Tattva of Ishvara as a Anandamaya in the macrocosmic way, he says, Tasya Priyameva Shiraha. His head is actually Priyam, love. So actually the true love, which is unconditional, coming from the depth of your Atma, that is called as real love, and that is what is appreciated by gods. A fervent, the depth, for the gods approve the depth and not the tumult of the soul. A fervent, not ungovernable love. A deep, intense affection, yes, but it is not ungovernable love. What it means, again and again, what Swamiji emphasizes, that the emotions must not let loose themselves to such an extent that they create a havoc in your personality. Emotions is a virtue, but you must not become emotional at every point of time. Becoming sentimental at every point of time is not a virtue. It affects your thinking, it affects your action. So if it is under the control of the intellect, it can be directed properly and you can reap good rewards out of it. So gods approve the depth and not tumult of the soul, a fervent, not ungovernable love. It must be under the control of your intellect. That transports moderate and meekly mourn when I depart. For brief is my sojourn. Always your expressions must be moderate. And he says, it is not that you must not express your affection to your family, or this is a misconception against Vedanta also, that it kills your emotion. It is not so. He says, very beautiful words, meekly mourn. There must be mourning. When something sad happens, if you don't feel that sadness, you are a plant or you are a stone. Similarly, when others are joyful, if you do not partake their pleasures and feel joyful for them, then again you are being indifferent. So your heart does feel. You are not a statue. You are a conscious entity. In fact, with objectivity, with your availability of mind, you may be even able to feel deeply all these emotions also than even the affected party sometimes. And you will find that only when you go deeper into the study and reflection and you are able to, go deeper into your personality, it does come out in a very pure and genuine way. But you have to understand all this will pass away and meekly mourn. You have to carry on. There is no point hanging on to any sorrow. There is no point hanging on to any joy, as though placing a reality value in itself. And the last line is fabulous again. When I depart, for brief is my sojourn. Though it may apparently refer to his 3 hours journey here, he is very clearly indicating the brief journey of ours in this world. You may live 40, 50, 100, 80 years, whatever be the time. Still it's a brief journey. In this journey, imagine you have an independent journey. You have come from this side and you are going on your path. Somebody is coming from this side and they are going on their path. In between you meet and a bondage is formed. It could be husband and wife, father, son, various relationships are formed. You travel together for a while. That's all it is. And then they have to go their way, you have to go your way. In this process, why do you unnecessarily get yourself entangled? Because then only the problem, everything comes out of attachment and other thing. If you have this overall picture, Matthew Arnold says, life is an arrow shot from darkness, flutters in the light for a while and goes back into darkness. That is our life. It may seem very big because we do not know anything beyond our nose now. It's a long, long time. Imagine, just now only we passed the school, we feel. Just now we were in the university. Just now I was studying in the academy, something like that. Wow, 20 years has passed, 25 years has passed. Like that it is. Exactly the same feeling you will get when you are at 80 also. Kala Kridite, just like that it goes. Okay, it is brief. If you look at the overall life journey, we do not know. Since we do not know, that is why we are ignorant. But this whole life of big number of years that we are talking about is like a dream that it goes like this. So, if you are able to understand this impermanent nature here, in this impermanent time, we should put our effort on gaining something permanent. That is the message that we have to derive from Vedanta. Thy transports moderate and meekly mourn, for when I depart, for brief is my sojourn. That he is referring to all of us. Wherefore, did not Hercules by force wrest from the guardian monster of the tomb Alcestis a reanimated corpse given back to dwell on earth in vernal bloom? Medea's spells dispersed the weight of years, and Aeson stood mid youthful peers. Laodamia speaking. She is not ready to buy the philosophy of Protesiláus, and that is the background of the poem. She is attached and she is only giving her side arguments now. She is giving some case studies of past where people have been brought back to life and they continue to live also after that. Okay. Now, what she will not understand, and at least in a class like this we can analyze this. Instead of 3 years, if the time given to Protesiláus was 30 years, 3 hours, instead of 3 hours, if he is given 3 years or 30 years, would everything would have been resolved for Laodamia? No, if the attachment, that might be increase in that, or there could be some other rupture in the relationship, or when that's going away, parting comes at that point of time, the same pangs only she is going to feel. So, when we ask for something, we really do not know what we are asking for. But she is giving a case study of the past where, Alcestis was somebody who had, she had agreed to die instead of her husband, very sacrificial in nature. Her husband was supposed to die, and she, being a faithful wife, she allowed herself to be taken away. And Hercules fought with the messenger of death, and he revived her back. And she continued to live happily. This is one old story that she is quoting. And then again, Aeson was somebody who was poisoned, or he drank poison, and then Medea is the wife, she brought him back, or a witch, or whatever is the story. She is giving some earlier instances where a person who is dead is brought back to life. She is building the case for the sake of Protesiláus that he must also come back to life now. The gods to us are merciful, and they yet further may relent, for mightier far than strength of nerve and sinew or the sway of magic potent over sun and star is love, though oft to agony distressed, and though his favourite seat be feeble woman's breast. In this stanza, only one thing we need to remember, because we may have to just revisit it towards the end of the poem. What she is saying is, gods are very merciful. No doubt gods are compassionate. Okay, that's why they are God. See, in our belief system, Ishvara or God is all powerful, all compassionate, all knowing, all pervading. All that is there. And to one who surrenders, he is Sarva Sharanya also. He is ever compassionate, and he is ready to help you and take you to him. It's, to that extent he is ready to provide everything, and therefore he is all compassionate also. There's a conflict that he maintains the law of karma and he gives the results of the karma to you. But though he is a strict law governor and controller, he is not a sort of a dictatorial tyrant. He is merciful and he is giving enough chance for us to redeem ourselves, to do the right karma, and he is encouraging us and he is providing satsang. Various things are also planned in nature in such a way. That is why he is ever compassionate also. But what you must understand is, he is not somebody who is going to fall for weak pity, and that is what Laodamia here is counting upon. She says, gods are merciful, yet further they may relent. Now he has relaxed for 3 hours he has given, he will give it further also. Why? She says, what is more stronger than the bones, the tendons and other things is the power of love. What she thinks is she has the power of love, but what gives away is the statement, and though his favorite seed be feeble woman's breast. So that means a weak pity, and if I cry, and for that they will relent. This is her calculation, which is not correct. No gods will be moved by weak pity. And we saw in last class also, we narrated the instance of Savitri and Satyavan. If Savitri were to show weak pity and all, I mean the type of tapas and other things that she did to deserve whatever she deserved, and from the point of view of what Laodamia is talking, it is no comparison at all. It is just not possible. And you say, please give me, are gods that crazy that they will just yield to your weak pity? No chance. But she believes so. But if thou goest, I follow. Whatever it is, she is not ready to listen to everything. She says, but if thou goest, I follow. Peace, he said. She looked upon him and was calmed and cheered. The ghastly colour from his lips had fled. In his deportment, shape and mien appeared Elysian beauty, melancholy grace, brought from a pensive though a happy place. Immediately when she says, whatever it is, I do not know, I will come with you, in a very agitated state of mind that Laodamia is speaking, immediately to calm her, he says, peace. And immediately that sort of a command, it is not coming out of anger, it is not coming out, it is coming from his real love for her, you know. And then that brings about a calmness in the atmosphere. The moment there is a person who is more peaceful in the atmosphere, that gets transferred, and to the extent the other person is agitated, they do feel a little bit more of that. That is what we may call as vibrations or whatever it is. We saw in Abu Ben Adam also, exceeding peace made Abu Ben Adam bold, they say. Why? That angel was that. The angel itself is peaceful. Here he is like that. He is from the heaven now. Okay. And then what happened? Once that peace is there, that black mark that was there in the lips, that disappeared. That means her thoughts are also calm now. Earlier she was feeling rajasic. I mean, a sensuous nature was there. She is little more calm, and therefore, as a result of which, this was not required. That had been removed. In his deportment, shape and mien appeared a Elysian beauty, a heavenly beauty, a beauty that is not outwardly beauty that we see in the earth. A melancholy grace. The melancholy, why is being said it is not a very happy thing that the husband is dead and the wife is here and he is there standing. And it is not that he doesn't feel for his wife, but there is a grace about it. Okay, that sort of a thing you have to visualize there. Why? Where from it is brought? It is brought from a very deep meditative thought, brought from a very pensive though happy place. So his state of mind is now very peaceful, very heavenly in nature, and that is what has lent a greater vibration and atmosphere there now. Why this atmosphere is created? Because this is important for a person to transact knowledge. That is what it is. If the calm, why do we say Shanti Mantra before the class? The teacher and the student must say Shanti Mantra together, because only then the mind is calmed. Only when the mind is calm can there be a transaction of knowledge. That is why it is recommended whatever you attend, go 5 minutes early and just sit there and relax. Never rush through, because for your mind to be calmed, it will take 5-10 minutes and you will miss whatever is being said there. It is just not a correct approach to anywhere, I would say, but particularly to any class for that matter. There must be a calm atmosphere where the transaction of knowledge has to take place. And that is what he is going to say now. What did he speak? He spake of love, such love as spirits feel, in worlds whose course is equable and pure. No fears to beat away, no strive to heal. The past unsighed for, and the future sure. Spake of heroic arts in graver mood, revived with finer harmony pursued. So now he is giving the lecture and giving her all the meaning of what true love is. And this is what is probably the starting point. If we draw a parallel as to what Yajnavalkya is giving Maitreyi as the lesson in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. When he is leaving all his property between his wives and he is wanting to go towards something higher, Maitreyi respectfully stops him and asks, if you are leaving this and going something and pursuing something else, that must be of greater nature, greater pleasure. I would also want to partake in that. Kindly tell me also, kindly take me also with you. Like that she pleads, and he is very pleased, because he says, all along Maitreyi, I was having love for you. Now that you ask this question, my love for you has only increased. And he is talking about that love. And therefore, being husband the guru and the wife the disciple there, how can Brahma Vidya be? Upanishad's motto is Brahma Vidya only. And therefore, the Brahma Vidya starts with love. So you love me and I love you. If you go deeply and find out where that love is, and that is why Swami Ramatirtha's first lecture, one statement of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that he takes and explains that Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Each and everybody is lovable and likable for you because you are truly in love with that Atma, and that is true love, which we discussed before. Where is the source and destination of love? And that is the love that he is talking about here. He speaks of such love which the spirits feel, and that love actually calms your mind. The passion is very deep. No fears, no strife. If you look at the gopis' love for Krishna, which is the highest form of love, which is the most unconditional love, it is a love from which they are deriving the infinite. So there is no jealousy among them. There is no fear who will Krishna go with or something like that. There is no question of any negative emotions there. Because what is being sought is not the body of Krishna there. There is something else which is very deep, which only probably the gopis and Krishna will understand. Which probably only great Bhishma or great Lord Shiva will understand. Or Sukha will understand. Nobody else will understand. That is the real love. Of course, whether to which that extent this is being discussed in these poems, we do not know. But that is what true love is all about. The past unsight for, the future sure. There is absolutely in the calm mind, there is no worries or anxieties. Being in the present, the love expands. And the time expands to accommodate the entire present there. Spake of heroic arts in graver mood, and he talked about all the heroic arts and revived with finer harmony. There was an absolute harmony in that, whatever he was conveying. Of all that is most beauteous image there, in happier beauty, more pellucid streams, an ampler ether, a diviner air, and fields invested with purpureal gleams, climes which the sun who sheds the brightest day, earth knows is all unworthy to survey. He is trying to explain the pleasure that is there in the heaven. All that is in the earth cannot be compared to that, he says. So whatever is the thing that is very beautiful that you can image here, it is 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times more. Again, we see this parallel. Of course, he might be talking just about the heavenly pleasures, which is a pleasure that we even get out of a high degree of unselfishness. But the pleasure that Upanishad talks about, which is your Swarupa, which is Ananda, there the quantification which goes in Taittiriya is about 100 times, 100 times, 100 times, where it goes to 10 power 16 letters day, where beyond a point we are not even able to imagine what it is. That pleasure is inclusive of all the pleasures that you undergo in the earth, but it is much beyond that. So that graphic description of infinity is taken step by step there. Exactly in a small way you can imagine here the parallel here. The air there, the elements there, the streams there, and the climate there, which, see, the sun which shines, there's a bright day, particularly in Europe and all, when there's a bright summer, it is a very great climate, because all the time it may be cold. But he says, such climate that you will have there, that who sheds the brightest day in the earth, that is also unworthy to survey. You cannot compare even the best climate that you have in the earth to there. It is all absolutely a different kind of pleasure. What we must understand here is, the state of mind which enjoys all these things is completely of a different nature altogether. It is of a nature that has gained itself because of the unselfish karma that it has done. It cannot be understood by somebody who is very selfish and who is caught up in the pleasure of the level of the body and the emotional attachment here. It cannot be understood. So therefore the communication between Protesiláus and Laodamia may not be fully complete also, because the level at which he speaks and the level at which she understands, there is probably no meeting point. Yet he is trying to raise her level by explaining to her what the real enjoyment is, what the real pleasure is. She is trying to picturize that. Yet there the soul shall enter, which hath earned that privilege by virtue. Ill, said he, the end of man's existence I discerned, who from ignoble games and revelry could draw, when we had parted, vain delight, while tears were thy best pastime day and night. That type of joy that I was describing, the soul shall enter, your subtle body shall go. I'm just giving it in the proper context. By virtue, which hath earned by that privilege by virtue, you have to pay the price for it. It doesn't come easily. You have to earn that money, convert it into foreign currency, then only you go to America. It is not just like that you will land there. If you want to go there for an excursion or a picnic or a sightseeing or spending your holidays, to that extent you have to pay that, and to that extent you will enjoy that. So he says, of course, in the last class we saw that how Protesiláus said, I also did something to gain that. Okay, now he is going to explain that. You have to pay the price and you get there. In other words, Laodamia, what she is wanting is fleeting joys in the world, which is at the very surface level. It is earthly joys. But if you are able to little bit sacrifice and look for a higher pleasure, you will earn that by virtue. And then how do you discern that? He says, ill, said he, the end of man's existence I discern. The journey in the life has a beginning and an end. I thought about it. I was thinking about all this, what is this life and what it is all about. And in this life, what do we do? Who from ignoble games and revelry could draw, when we had parted, vain delight. Again in Gita it says, Moghasha, Mogha Karmanaha, Mogha Jnana Vichetasa. Mogha, he says, Mogha means vain. Vain delight. We thought, oh, it's so enjoyable. We had a party and drinking alcohol and some, it is pleasure, it is maja. That's what we think. But later, when little bit of wisdom dawns and we look upon those, what a wasted years. That's what we will say. It is actually wasted. Vain delight. Absolutely. It was something that we thought as a pleasure, which was no pleasure at all. There's no taste, and finally it gave bodily trouble. All these things are there. So, ignoble games, so we waste our time in the earth like this. And when he had parted for this war, Laodamia was only crying all the time. So while tears were thy best pastime day and night. So she was only thinking of this and she was shedding tears. And while my youthful peers, and he is now describing what was happening till he reached the Trojan soil. And while my youthful peers before my eyes, each hero following his peculiar bent, prepared themselves for glorious enterprise. By martial sports or seated in the tent, chieftains and kings in council were detained, what time the fleet at Aulias lay enchained. Aulias is the fleet of ship. It was waiting. They have to wait for the signal so that they can go in the sea towards Troy. They are going to declare war and they have to go there. When it was waiting, the kings and chieftains, they were counseling what has to be done. They were drawing out strategies. And various heroes and various soldiers and various youth who were all part of the army, they were kings, they were princes, they were at various gradations in the army. Each were entertaining themselves in their own way. That's why he says each hero following his peculiar bent, his youthful peers. And they were preparing themselves for glorious enterprise. This is what really a Kshatriya looks for. Even now you ask any army person, he would be delighted. Don't demean them by calling them warmongers. Actually, he wants in his lifetime to fight a war and to kill the enemy and to save and protect his nation. In the process, even if he gets killed, he is okay. That is the nature of a Kshatriya. That is the real nature of a Kshatriya. So prepared themselves for a glorious enterprise by martial sports. So they were practicing martial sports or seated in the tent, and the other people were having discussions what time the fleet at Oleus lay enchained. The ships were enchained. The wished for wind was given. I then revolved the oracle upon the silent sea, and if no worthier led the way, resolved that of 1,000 vessels, mine should be the foremost prow in pressing to the strand. Mine the first blood that tinged the Trojan sand. When all were doing whatever they were doing, and the siren was given, and the ships were sailing, I was thinking about that oracle. You remember that Delphic oracle had said that whoever is going to jump in the Trojan soil first is sure to be killed. That is the prophecy. And he was thinking about it. And if he says, if any vessel, any ship has to, the prow means that part of the ship which goes and hits the beach, my ship's prow has to be the first one which has to hit, and I must be the person who must be ready to do the sacrifice for the sake of the nation. Mine the first blood that tinged the Trojan sand. This is the thought I was having. And you will see that it is a deep thought that has come to him and is a result of that. It is not that he had conflict of interest. It is not that he had no love for his wife. It is not that he was calculating various other pros and cons. But finally, what the intellect said is that this is what ought to be done for the cause. And therefore, he was very resolute. So he says, I was resolved. Yet, bitter, oft times bitter, was the pang when of thy loss I thought. Beloved wife, on thee too fondly did my memory hang, and on the joys we shared in mortal life, the paths which we had trod, the fountains, flowers, my new planned cities and unfinished towers. So it is not that I did not think of you, Laodamia. It is not that I did not have any love or emotion for you. My memory went to all those good times also, of all the joys. You have to again put yourself in the shoes of the army person only. They are there, cut away from the family, and it is. They are also longing. They are also waiting. They have the passion. Of course, he is of a different kind altogether. He is a king also. Their metal is even more stronger. So he says, I thought of all those things, all the good times that we had in the fountains, flowers. But last line is very important here. New planned cities and unfinished hours. Underline that unfinished hours. What it means, a message here is that when you are going for a cause and when you have to take the plunge, there will be always unfinished hours in your life. Remember this. If only I'll finish this, I'll read and I want to get into Bhagavad Gita, I want to get into study, and I want to dedicate my life for self-realization. Let me just settle my son and my daughter's marriage has to be finished, and then it's all fine. Once that is done, once she's expecting, and let the grandson come, once I'm able to settle them, then it's all fine. Always there will be several projects which are correct projects, which are based on your duty, and all those things will be there. But if you keep on trying to say that I will finish this and I will finish this, it will never come. So always remember this. When you have a vision, when you have a greater zeal and ideal to pursue something, and what is expected out of you is a paradigm shift. You have to take the plunge there. There will be always new plan. This I have to start, this factory I have to do, I have to do charity, I have to do all these things. There will be always that, and always unfinished hours will be there. But your mind must be well resolved that all that will be there. There is a never-ending process. In a positive way, even if you say it is still a samsara only, you have to take the plunge. And this is what the character of Protesiláus is teaching us. Actually, he did that. But should suspense permit the foe to cry, behold, they tremble. Haughty their array, yet of their number no one dares to die. In soul I swept the indignity away. Old frailties then recurred, but lofty thought in act embodied my deliverance wrought. If I think of my unfinished hours, if I think of my love with you and all our pastimes and other things, and in the suspense nobody jumps, think about this. The Trojans will say, oh, they know about the oracle and nobody is willing to die. And they will talk ill about the valor of the Kshatriyas. And that type of a dishonor is worse than death. Again, a parallel, we see that in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Bhayad ranadu paratam mansinte tvam maharata. Oh, Arjuna came, he saw the big army of the Kauravas and he ran away from battle. This is what your foes will tell you. Do you want that, Arjuna? Because for the honor, dishonor is worse than death. It is exactly the same parallel. He says, will I even allow that enemies to even talk like this? Therefore, once that thought came, all my other lower level passions, I just shoved it aside. Old frailties then recurred, but lofty thought, the thought that this needed a sacrifice and this needed a warrior's attitude, that only preoccupied my mind. Therefore, that emboldened me and my act was required and my deliverance, I delivered that, I did whatever I was supposed to do. And thou, though strong in love, art all too weak in reason, in self-government too slow. I counsel thee by fortitude to seek our blessed reunion in the shades below. The invisible world with thee hath sympathized. Be thy affections raised and solemnized. You are very emotional, Laodamia, but in reason, in a very direct statement of practical Vedanta, your intellect is very weak, your emotions are very strong. That's all it is. Making a very direct statement. Self-government, wow, same words that we use here. Self-management. Self-management is the technique by which you develop the intellect to control and guide the emotions, to direct the emotions. You are weak in that. Therefore, my advice to you is gain that strength in this adversity. Yes, it is very sad that you have lost your husband in this adversity. Take it as an opportunity to make yourself strong. And our blessed reunion in the shades below. So, if at all, temporarily you see that it's only their shadows can meet. But the point is, if you are able to properly conduct yourself from now on, we will meet later, in the nether world also. The invisible world with thee has sympathized. They have given the gods have sympathized with you. They have sent me to you for 3 hours. And what is the purpose? The purpose is to educate you on this so that you are raised. Be thy affections raised. So Swamiji always says, you must never fall in love, you must only rise in love. The real love is that which uplifts you. So you have to transform that weak emotion into a pillar of strength. This statement verbatim comes in the Strength of Emotions, chapter 6 in Vedanta Treatise. And now comes the immortal statement, one of my favorite statements in the poem. Learn by a mortal yearning to ascend. Seeking a higher object, love was given, encouraged, sanctioned chiefly for that end. For this the passion to excess was driven, that self might be annulled, her bondage prove, the fetters of a dream opposed to love. Grand conclusion to Protesiláus' oration, whatever he wanted to convey. He is now giving sort of a lecture to her. A very grand conclusion. In Vedanta, we talk about mumukshatva. Mumukshatva is a yearning for liberation, a strong urge to go upwards, a strong urge that comes out of the awareness that you are bound and then you want to liberate and free yourself. So he says, learn by a mortal yearning to ascend. There must be a constant desire, and this is possible when you open up your subtle intellect. That fire must be there. It is always there within you. But once you spot that spark, it must be conflagrated to such an extent that you must never leave this desire, and this desire must only increase in you. Seeking a higher object, actually. And never compromise till you get that ultimate infinity itself. In between, even as you pursue higher goals, they have value when they are in line with the highest goal of self. So never ever leave that. And what is interesting, love was given, encouraged, sanctioned chiefly for that end. You start with the love, and that love is natural with me, myself and my family, because to that extent animals also show and you also have. Okay, but let not the family or house be the boundary of your affection. They must be the center of your affection. So love was given and encouraged chiefly for that, and all other creatures, they naturally come up to that level. Further they cannot grow, but a sense of detachment automatically comes into their life, and their life carries on like that. But a human being has to consciously develop that love further, and it has to come only by the knowledge of the self. When the knowledge of the self percolates through the intellect, then only the mind expands. In that expansion, your mind actually sort of evaporates and goes higher. That love is able to encompass more and more. It is becoming more unconditional. It is becoming more universal. For this, the passion to excess was driven. If at all you want to excessively drive that passion, you have to drive the passion in this end. So, if a person, we see in the Puranic stories, if his love towards God is such intensity is there, he has no hatred towards any being. So, when you are able to have that type of a bhakti towards the Lord, that is what is meant by true love. So, in other words, love towards the fellow beings and love towards God, they are not different from each other. They are one and the same. But how do you get it is that you have to fixate that love on something higher, which is able to encompass everything under its umbrella. So seek that higher. For this passion to excess was driven, that self might be annulled. Underline that again. In this expansion of love, what gets annulled is your small ego. When, in other words, the ego has to expand. In that process, the lower self gets annihilated. And upon self-realization, it is completely gone. But in this process of your evolution, it becomes thinner and thinner and thinner. It ultimately vanishes. But, unfortunately, her bondage prove fetters of a dream opposed to love. Very clear statement of Vedanta that Swamiji says again and again, love and attachment are opposed to each other. What is glorified as love in the world today is preferential attachment. It is love polluted by selfishness. It may appear same, but it's totally different. It is 2 drops of poison in the milk, and you cannot call it milk anymore. It is still poison. So what is the experience of Laodamia is actually attachment, which is opposed to true love. Aloud she shrieked, for Hermes reappears. Whether she understood it fully, what she listened, nobody knows, probably not. Because she is looking, suddenly 3 hours has passed. Aloud she shrieked, for Hermes reappears. Round the dear shade she would have clung. 'Tis vain. The hours are past. Too brief had they been years, and him no mortal effort can detain. Swift toward the realms that know not earthly day, he through the portal takes his silent way, and on the palace floor a lifeless corpse she lay. Very sad that it ends in a tragedy that she dies. She shrieked because 3 hours is over and Mercury has come. She would have clung to him, but it is vain because it is just a apparition. That's what we discussed has come here. The hours are past. True grief, had they been years, even if they have been years, it has been true grief only. And no mortal effort can detain, because it is ordained of the God that he has to spend 3 hours with her and it's over. It is exactly like that. When your time comes for departure, no force can stop. The ultimate reality of life is death, and we know it intellectually, but this reality must be deeply born in your heart, swift towards the realm of that know not the earthly days. So he has come from heaven, he is going back to heaven. He through the portal takes his silent way, and then what happened? She immediately collapses down and she dies. Thus, all in vain exhorted and reproved, she perished. And as for a willful crime by the just gods, whom no weak pity moved, was doomed to wear out her appointed time, apart from happy ghosts that gather flowers of blissful quiet mid unfading bowers. See, it is said that William Wordsworth has a habit of revisiting his poem again and again and refining it. And this Laodamia is one poem. Till 1 year before his death also, he was again and again visiting such a powerful poem probably also. And it is this portion, the experts and commentators who talk about how Wordsworth handles characters and what is the role of female characters in his poem, they are all giving commentaries based on that. And they are talking about what is the end of it all, end of this poem here. So, this particular portion is changed from the original poem is what they say, but we are not going into that details. We will look at it from the Vedantic angle only. She perished, and as for willful crime is it is talking about her attachment. Even after Protesiláus says nothing could change her attachment. But this is where we said we will revisit that place where she was talking about that gods will be moved by the love, and the feeble woman's breast is what she thought it was strong. That's not so. By the just gods whom no weak pity moved, they have to go by that whatever is the predetermined law that is there, was doomed to wear out her appointed time. So this line proves probably she went through a hell. Okay. Now let us not even, it is a very tragic poem. That way, if even whatever be the case, if she dies like this, we are not happy about it. Whether she joined him in the heaven or whether she went through hell, all that is not, it's a matter of detail and debate and argument, which is not of any consequence. But from Vedantic angle, if you look at it, what it means is anybody who is attached has to suffer. The agitations that you go through in the mind is equivalent of the hellish state here. And that is what you have to take it from this stanza. Apart from the happy ghosts that gather flowers of blissful quiet mid unfading bowers. These are the descriptions of the netherworld where she has to spend. That means, of course, in our scriptures we don't talk about any eternal damnation and other thing. Neither probably this is talking about, because it is talking about mythology of the Greek times, which is much before the present Christianity and other belief system that has come about much later. So therefore, the attachment that she had shown in her mind, it will have its consequences. So anybody who is attached has to suffer. And we quoted Swami Ramtirtha in that last class. Take that statement and read it again and again. There is no other way. He is not giving a curse or he is not threatening you. He is only making a statement of fact that what will happen if you get attached. That relationship will go. You have to suffer. And this is a law. Either that person will die, he says, or that object will be taken away. You will die. These are all the effects of your own attachment. So she underwent that. And a very beautiful conclusion now he gives in a very sort of philosophic way. Yet tears to human suffering are due, and mortal hopes defeated and overthrown are mourned by man, not by man alone, as fondly he believes upon the side of Hellespont. Such faith was entertained, a knot of spiry trees for ages grew from out the tomb of him for whom she died, and ever when such stature they had gained, that Ilium's wall were subject to their view, the trees' tall summits withered at that sight. A constant interchange of growth and blight. William Wordsworth. See, yet he says this is a tragedy. We have to shed tears. This is worldly in nature. We have to go along with the normal passions and emotions of the world. The mortal hopes defeated and overthrown. Yes, all our desires, they just cannot be fulfilled. If it is unreasonable, it is just not possible. But you have to mourn for Protesiláus, you have to mourn for Laodamia also. And not by man alone. Now here is a belief. The belief is that wherever the tomb of Protesiláus was there, that place is near Hellespont. There from his tomb, the trees grew and they were spiral in nature. And when they grow to such a height from where the walls of Ilium were visible, that is on the other side of the shore, which is the Trojan side. So the belief is that whenever the trees grow up to that level, they automatically wither and then they die. Again they bloom, again the spirally they grow, again they come up to that height and again they die. Like this it continues for ages is the legendary belief there. So that's why he says they are just not mourned by humans alone. Even nature mourns, the trees also mourn, are mourned by man and not by man alone, as fondly he believes. Upon the side of Hellespont, where such faith was entertained, a knot of spiry trees for ages grew. From out of the tomb for whom she had died for Protesiláus, so from his tomb, and ever when such stature they had gained, that Ilium's walls were subject to their view, up to that level where it came, where they can see the walls there, that means once they reach certain height, the trees, tall summits withered, so again they will wither at the side, a constant interchange of growth and blight. So this growth and withering is continuing and happening for ages. William Wordsworth, a fantastic poem. We'll just conclude with the commentary of Swamiji. Protesiláus was a Greek prince, the hero of a Greek armada that sailed to Troy. An oracle had prophesied that first Greek soldier landing on Trojan soil would be killed. As the armada was approaching Troy, the Greeks were debating who should land first. Meanwhile, Protesiláus jumped ashore. He was killed. Protesiláus' wife Laodamia was very much upset. She perceived her husband's death as a great injustice meted out to her. She pleaded to Jove, the supreme god, to restore her husband to her. Jove responded to her prayer, but granted her just 3 hours of Protesiláus' company. The poem starts with Protesiláus' return to earth escorted by god Mercury. It contains conversation between Laodamia and Protesiláus in those 3 hours. The highlight of the poem is the brilliant philosophy that Protesiláus addresses to Laodamia. The poem depicts woman's infatuation for man, Laodamia's terrible attachment to her husband Protesiláus. Like any other attachment, her infatuation led to her own ruination. The poet points out that attachment culminates in total loss and destruction. Yeah, thank you very much.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate